Hi, guys. I am here in Tallahassee. It is 8 o'clock. I am here with Daniel, but he's shy, so he's going to stay off camera. So let's see what we will talk about today. Let's go to Michelle because Michelle sent me some stuff when I was at the house the last couple of days on some things I was going to do videos on. So let's see. Let's see what I wrote. So bear with me unless somebody's going to say something. Somebody come on and say this is working. Talk to me, talk to me. Let me get Stephanie on and see if it's working. Tell me if this is working. See if my live is working, please. Oh, there's Jonathan. Okay, it's working. Thank you, Jonathan. All right, Jonathan. Hello, hello. So do you have any questions for me this fine evening? We love Jonathan. All right, let me look over here. We had conversations all the time. I always do. And then I think of these really good ideas for conversation or videos. And I always say, write that down. So Michelle sent a bunch of them to me. And it got to be a joke. Oh, losing attachments and physical pain. Okay, this is about, I can't talk. Okay, Jonathan, shoot. What you got? Jonathan frequently comes on first. We frequently have one-on-one sessions. He's so smart. Children and babies. Okay, shoot. What about children and babies? Why they die young? Frequently, well, it's always, they only die young if they want to, first of all. So there's no reason to be all upset about babies and little kids dying. Babies frequently die because it's an entity that has never been in human form before. And they come in and they get in this tiny little human body and they go, oh, hell no, I'm not doing this. And they leave. Now, in that event, they will be matched with people around that baby who agreed or asked for a very, very traumatic event. Nothing much more traumatic than losing a baby or a child. So the entities that are parental units or family members or friends around that, they have agreed to have that experience and they're matched with that. If an entity comes in and usually there's no reason for a baby to die. There's no experience there. So almost always a baby dying is an entity that came in and went, oh no, I'm not doing this. And they're either matched with parents or people that wanted that experience, that horrible experience, or that they can have those entities can leave and then they can have another entity step in and take over, at which point the children and babies do not die. Most of the time, I'd say easily 90% of the time or more, babies and little children are the same story. It's an entity that's never been here before that comes in and goes, oh, no, I don't want to do this. No, they didn't come. Nothing happens by mistake. Nobody comes by mistake. It's just that on the other side, when you're looking at this game, because when you're on the other side, you don't have linear time space. So the fact that things are crunched down a little, that feeling of being encased in a human body, you can see that vibrationally, but unless you've done it yourself, you don't really understand what those vibrations mean in physical. So people will see it vibrationally and go, oh, that sounds like fun, let's do it. And then they'll zoom down here and go, oh, no, this is way worse than I thought it was going to be. I can't handle this. Going from God form to this, no, I can't do this. And they'll just leave. They'll just leave. Hello, Michelle. Okay, Michelle. Daniel's doing first right now, second in 30 minutes. So he should be about there whenever we get done. So just to give you a heads up. Mario should be here too. So I could tell him the same thing. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Jonathan. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Jonathan. Okay, do you want to know anything else, Jonathan, about the dead babies and dead kids? I'm looking up these things. Michelle, look and see what you sent me. Oh, I know what I was going to talk to you guys about. And I got permission from David Kuntz to talk about this. Now, as you guys know, I hung out with David for a few hours the other day in Georgia, and we had a deep conversation. He had a pretty much lined out what he wanted to ask about and what his questions were and what he needed fixed. Now, he's gained, I think, like, I don't know, 70 pounds or something in the last, well, relatively short period of time, and he was rather concerned about that. So I took a look at his body, and basically what he did is he had well, he started really young, drinking a lot of alcohol for one thing. So there was that in his system for decades. Plus, he had worked for 10 years with some place with paint and paint additives that was really, really bad. So, and I saw this in his body and I've never seen it before. Hi, Stephanie. And I'd never seen it before. So I wanted to tell you guys about it because it was really cool. Well, yeah, it's not so cool for him, but it was very cool because I've never seen this before. But all the toxins, the body will first, on everybody, first try to filter it out as best they can. But then your body, you keep doing bad stuff to it, and it eventually cannot do anymore, and it'll start handling it in different ways. And one of the, what David's body did is it took these toxins when it was an overload, and it shoved it against the bone and within the ligaments. And I asked him, I said, probably about 20 years into this, you probably were less limber and sorer than most people your age. And he shook his head, yes, very much. And it just got worse. Well, okay, move forward. Now, once it gets to a certain point, it will play out in like cancer. It can play out with cholesterol. Those toxins will go into your system. Whatever you believe is going to happen to you, that's how the toxins go. He didn't really have a belief in particular, so his body shoved him against the bones, which I'd never seen before. That developed into sore joints, sore bones, sore, eventually muscles. Now, and he handled it that way. Then about a year ago, he became the process of becoming enlightened, so to speak. And he said he knew that he needed to detoxify his body. So he said, I want to detoxify my body. And somewhere in that time, because time is like weird, somewhere in that time frame in there, his body started detoxing. Well, the way it detoxes is it pulled that toxins off of his bone, but the toxins were so deadly, and there's so many of them, that it had to pull the toxins off, surround them with a fat cell, put them in his body, and then what he was doing was, he didn't realize this, was he was losing weight and gaining weight at the same time, because at first surrounded it with fat cells, then he'd lose weight, it flushed those toxins out a little bit at a time, out through his body, and then more toxins would pull out, more fat cells, and in the course of that, pulling the fat cells, losing the weight, getting the toxins out, pulling it out, in the course of that, he'd gained 70 pounds. Well, I told him, I said, do not lose the weight any faster than you are, because every fat cell is surrounding a very toxic piece of material. And if you lose weight too fast, then that toxin is going to overload your system, and really, really bad things can happen. So relax. His higher self is female, by the way. His physical self is male. And his physical self, who was male, was really being kind of cantankerous about the whole thing, because David wanted it done real fast, wanted to move on and raise to 5T. And his higher self was really, griping at him and saying, look, you've been doing this for 45 years and you won't give me a few months. Seriously. It was really funny, by the way. It was really, really funny. No, his muscles, no, Jonathan, he hasn't lost anything. He didn't lose his muscle mass. The fat is on top of it. The toxins are pulled out through the body's system of doing it. Now, don't listen to any of your pathophysiological science from humans because they have no idea how this is done, and you're not going to understand it. But just know that the body takes those toxins from the bone, pulls them out, and surrounds them with a fat cell and deposits the fat cells around the human body. And where they're deposited will depend upon the individual, where they think that they're going to gain weight or they should gain weight, and it will be appropriate. A lot of times, guys, it's around their middle. Women, it can be legs and across their middle, their butts, thighs. You know what I mean. What society tells you how men and women gain weight? Does that make sense, guys? Do you get that? Yep, yep. Right, now let me see what else we had on here. Hey, Michelle, what was I talking about when I said living the ayahuasca experience? Oh, Sandra. Okay. We were talking about living the ayahuasca experience in physical. And there are two really examples of this, because there are two people that had the ayahuasca experience and were really sick and have no memory of what happened. And Mario will not care. Mario's one of them. And Mario, he went very, very, very deep, and he was dealing with divine masculine. I think you guys have told me before. Now, since then, he has remembered the experience, and he keeps adding it and adding it. Now he can manipulate energies from my physical body all the way out to a universal level. And Inka's over there playing with Daniel right now. That's what we got, the two kids over here playing. So the other person was sick, doesn't have any memory, went really, really deep. When she was finished with the ayahuasca experience itself, she went out and was around woods and actually had physical beings that vibrate a little bit higher than her show themselves to her. Now, that was a part of the ayahuasca experience because she changed her vibration in physical form due to the ayahuasca experience to be arranged that would draw those beings that vibrate higher than humans to her. She was vibrating higher than a normal human would. They recognized that, and they came towards her and said, "Hey, we know that you're there. We know that you're open to interact with us, and we want to interact with you." And they came together. Okay. So the ayahuasca experience isn't just a spiritual energy consciousness experience. It can be anything. You are connecting with the element of the plant elemental. So you can have an experience that is very, very physical. And again, like Mario, she had too intense of an ayahuasca experience to be able to comprehend that all at once during those few hours in the human brain. So there's total amnesia, and it'll come back to her over time. How long that takes is totally up to the individual. The more you allow those memories to come back and interact with them in a positive way, the faster they come back. Okay. First of all, 3D is, oh, you silly girl. You silly girl. You're not going outside. Now, I want you to first remember that when we say 3D, 4D, 5D, it's not really, there's not a gate that says open here and you go into 3D and then you open another gate, leave one garden and go to 4D and 5D. This is one continuous wave. And I'm breaking that wave up in order to talk to you in linear time space. So arbitrarily, for some reason, humans have decided to cause this part of the vibration 3D. Higher than that, we call 4D. Higher than that, 5D. Higher is a linear term too. There's really no such thing as higher at all. Everything's in the now. Everything has no higher or lower, left or right, 2 or 3. So, and Mario's experience was not lower than 3D as you know 3D. It was deeper into 3D. It was it was understanding and experience, and so was hers. It was understanding and experiencing the not just their individual 3D experience, but the totality of 3D experience and physical and the densities involved. And both of you, in Mario's case, he was dealing specifically with divine masculine and undivine masculine. In the other person's, I haven't asked if I could give her name, so I'm not going to give her name. The other person's experience, she had her experience went to even denser than his, but hers went dense because she was interested because of the entity she is on the other side. Everybody's ayahuasca experience will be completely different than anyone else's. Even if there are similarities in what you see or feel in the process, the reason for it is very different depending upon the person. Like everything else that we do, it is very, very unique to you. It is done for your specific reasons, and it will only be done that way for you. Nobody else will be doing it like that. Certainly, no one else will be doing it like Mario did or the second person I'm talking about, because came to Gaia as specialists in their field, and there is no reason for anyone else to do what Mario did. It's already done. What's the point? There is no reason for anybody else to do like the other person did, because she did it for her own purposes. Because on the other side, she can use that to further her experience as her entity outside the game. Make sense? And I don't think there is a bad NDE. There are limited NDEs or limited DDEs, like mine's a dead experience. So there's limited OBEs, and the NDEs and the DDEs are OBEs. Let's get that clear. Those are inclusive. You can have an out-of-body experience and have a near-death experience. You can be dead like I was. You can be in meditative state. You can have somebody knock you out. You can have a reaction to drugs. You can, all kinds of ways you can have an OBE, an out-of-body experience. Many, many ways. NDE and DDEs are just two of those ways. That's all. That's all that means. Where'd you guys go? Uh-oh. It ended the stream. I don't want to end the stream.
You get a chance. I can't sit down with her.
Inca, come here. You're not going to do anything anyway until 30 minutes. Inca, come here. Come here.
You've been playing with me the whole time.
Well, I know she's over there playing. And come here. Come here. Up. Cancel. This is not running. Oh, no, it is running. Is it running? Okay. Jonathan, it's still on. Yes, and that's the comic value of my videos, isn't it? All right. So Inca was over there playing with Daniel, so he could not relax. And she kept chewing on his feet, so he couldn't lay down. So I had to bring her over here to my bed. Okay, so any other questions, Jonathan? Mine, I barely remember, but it was negative. Jonathan, it wasn't negative. It's just that you haven't been able to look at it from a perspective that allows it to drop into place so that you can see it objectively. So you perceive it as negative. In reality, there's no such thing as negative or positive. So if you're saying it was negative or positive right there, you're not looking at it objectively. Because when you look at something objectively from far enough out, you understand that truly there is no such thing as negative or positive. It is just simply an event. It's an experience. And it fits into the puzzle beautifully. And that's the point. Now, in the moment, was my childhood traumatic and was negative? From that perspective, yeah, it was very painful, very upsetting. But in the big picture, it totally makes sense. It fits into the puzzle perfectly. Of course, it is exactly the way it was meant to be. And from an outside looking in perspective, a bigger picture, a more enlightened way of looking at it, it was not negative at all. There was nothing negative about my childhood and at all. And I'm saying that it's my childhood. There's nothing negative about it. There wasn't anything positive about it either. It just simply was. That's all. It was an event. It's part of the game. So what? As part of a game or a movie or video game, there you don't go through and say, okay, I'm gonna play the bad guy and you're gonna play the good guy. Okay, now we're done with the game. Oh, you're a bad person now. Oh, I'm a wonderful person now. You don't do that. You got to look at this and everything that's happened to you the same exact way. It's not negative. It's not positive. There'll be things you prefer to not do again. I know I do. And that's what I'm doing. It's not that they're bad. It's just didn't feel good in this skin suit. Don't want to do it again. It's that simple. And I'm not going to. Period. There you go. Got a yep from Jonathan. Exactly, Jonathan. There you go. See, now what? That wasn't that hard. You sat there and said yours was negative, and you pulled yourself right back. And then you understood that without that experience, then it wouldn't have led to other things that were spiritually important, that were very, very important, but without it wouldn't have got you there. So is the event negative still? No, it's not negative. No, it's not negative. My childhood was horrendous. But because of it, I honed my telepathy skills, my healing skills, and I didn't even know I was doing it because it was a way to survive. I also was able to leave my body easily because it was a way to survive a horror show of a life. So, was it bad or good? I don't know. You guys tell me because of my life. I'm sitting here talking to you guys. You were wondering how I got here. Now, I wouldn't suggest my way. You can't do it anyway. But big picture, ultimately, did it get me here? Did it get me to have an NDE that's or a DDE that went further than anyone I've ever heard of ever? Yeah, do I like that? You bet your ass I do. Would I trade that? Would I go back and do it again? I don't know about that. But would I trade it in? No. I like it just the way it is. I like me just the way I am. And it wasn't, looking back at it, like I've said, you take all that negativity and the actual pain and the actual event, not me worrying about it happening again, and not me whining and crying because it happened, but I mean the actual events themselves, the actual physical pain and trauma that was involved in the moment. If you added it all together in 18 years, it maybe came up to what, 2 or 3 hours. Most of the trauma and drama was the fear of it happening again, or when would it happen again, or reliving what had happened. Well, that wasn't on the person that was doing the the stuff to me. That was in me. I was doing that to myself, just as you guys are. You sit and you moan and groan about the past, or you worry about the future. Nobody's doing that to you but you. Nobody's in your brain making you relive the past or worry about the future. That's you doing that. So the second you stop doing that to yourself, you will save yourself a whole lot of pain and anguish, let me assure you. Let me assure you. A lot better way of doing it, too. All right. Next. Hey, Steph, you got anything? You got a good question? Or anything? Any, anything new and unusual in the world that we can talk about? If we talk about really, really weird stuff, then do not make this public because I don't want to hear about it from the regular YouTubers. Okay, so if we don't talk about really things, really, really just regular stuff, then I don't mind. I don't mind them making it public, guys. On the website, if any of you are on this live thing and you ever want me to not make it public, just tell me, and I will not make that one public. You're always protected. Always, if you're not talking because I am making it public, let me know and I won't make them public. It's that simple. You guys come first. It's that simple. All right. If you're not going to say anything, I've got to come up with another question. Really, Jonathan, you're usually faster than this on your questions. Oh, I need to do a video on that one. The other one that I've got, the other two really need to be separate videos because they're going to be complex. Nope, on the questions. Come on, guys. All right, you got any questions, Daniel? Because you've still got, you can't, like, you've got like 5 more minutes before you take the other one. You haven't taken the other one, right? Okay. You don't have any questions? Come on. You always have a question. All right. So what else shall I talk about? You know, if you guys aren't going to talk or have any questions, then I can just shut it down. Or at least give me a topic to talk about. I usually talk about it. Just don't ask me a question. Just give me a topic to talk about. Oh, anything at all. Stephanie, give me a topic. Well, kind of a keto like not. Yes, everybody is being very keto like. If this was said about pets, are pets pub friends for star seeds or LTS? I know that's probably a repeat. Pets are not pub friends. Pets are not pub friends. Pets, pub friends do not come down to the planet with you ever. They are your support team. That's like saying, okay, the astronauts are in the rocket ship, and all the people that are in Houston watching the rocket ship are in Houston. They're not with the astronauts. You don't send the support team with the people going into space. They have to stay to be the support team. Pub friends are the support team, like Houston. Okay. Your pets can be entities that you're close to, but they're not your pub friends. They're not what I call pub friends. But your pub friends are not all of your close friends and family. It's just some of your close friends or family. Some of your close friends and family, usually the ones that are the absolute closest, are usually the ones that are immediately surrounding you, as in Houston, watching the important aspects of your game, your ride into this third dimension. And they are busy. They're very busy doing that, watching you, supporting you, keeping an eye on all your many aspects and all your timelines. They do not have time to come down and be a pet. However, other close friends, as what the equivalent of close friends and family, absolutely will come down and be a pet or will be a close friend or family. But the pub friends are the same entities, the whole experience that you have here. They never come down, they never go up. They stay right up there with your higher self. They're around your higher self. Your higher self doesn't go anywhere. The pub friends don't go anywhere. They stay and support you. Your pets, on the other hand, not only can your pets be almost all, if it's a close pet that you really like or very, very close friend, these are entities that you are close with. They just didn't volunteer to be the pub friends. They volunteered to be the pet or the husband or the kid or whatever. But also, I should probably tell you guys that because your energy is split between infinite or a whole bunch of timelines and a whole bunch of aspects of yourself, you can also split a part of yourself into a pet. That is what's called a familiar, which is what Inca is to me now. That is not another entity. Inca is a part of me that I have brought down to be with me in pet form. That is what a familiar is. And if you don't know what a familiar is, then Google it or ask Stephanie on the website. She will tell you all about familiars. But that's what a familiar is. A close pet, a pet that you're really close to, and a familiar pet are completely different things. Completely different things. Okay? Have you gone over ley lines? White cat, Peyote. Oh, yeah. Stephanie has a white cat. Its name is Peyote. It has one blue eye, one green eye. Spends half of its time. Everybody thought it was blind because it runs into things and it jumps for things that aren't there. But that's because one eye is in the third and now fourth dimension, and the other part of the cat is in fifth dimension, very much like Stephanie. And that is Stephanie's familiar. Has been since we got it. How long have we had Piota now? Remember. Thank goodness. Piota came in when Stephanie, when we went to the 2012 timeline where she didn't get to kill people, where she lost her warrior abilities or the ability to do the warrior thing and kill people. So the Piota has helped her with that adjustment of having to be in a timeline in a place where she was no longer allowed to really use those warrior vibrations the way she was originally thought that she was going to. Now, what they've done is what few warriors are left is they're learning to use these warrior skills via electronics, via the internet, which is really working out nicely to interfere with the bad guys, to interfere with those vibrations, to get them knocked out so we can move higher to 5D. Yeah, about 8 years. Yeah, that's about 2012. Just a little bit before. Yeah, a little bit. A year or two before, I think. And when you were struggling, that's when you were struggling with it, was about 2010, 2011. And that's when Piota came in, and Piota is her, which was interesting because I had no money at the time, and she really wanted a cat. And so I saw this Craigslist thing about this cat that was blind that was I thought to give away. So we went to the lady's house. Stephanie immediately went to Piota. Piota immediately went to her, which blew the woman's mind because they thought that Piota was blind. And then they snuggled up and got together. Stephanie looked like she felt great. She felt so much better than she had for so long. And then I said, okay, we'll take her. And the lady said, it'll be $30. And I didn't have $30. And it's Stephanie, because Stephanie is not emotional, but big old tears formed in her eyes. And that lady, I turned around and looked at that lady, and she looked at Stephanie. And she said, okay, you go ahead and take her. And I said, well, good. You don't charge $30 for a cat you rescued that you thought was blind. What is up with that? Clearly, that woman had like a serious, like 20, 30. How many cats did she have, Stephanie? Way too many. Way too many cats. Oh yeah, that's QAnon. What's QAnon? Yeah, she should have paid us for taking her. Actually, well, it worked out beautifully the way it is. But normally you can't get people to take care of. It's hard to get people to take care of disabled cats. Of course, we knew immediately she wasn't blind, that she was just, well, Stephanie recognized immediately that she was halfway in the fifth dimension. So we were fine with it. But if she thought she was blind, why would you charge for that? You'd want to find that disabled cat a home. And if somebody came in and loved it immediately, why would you want to charge for it? I don't know. That's so weird. Oh yeah, I have no idea. That woman had way too many cats in that house. Way. And Piota is she doesn't like to be around other animals. She's she's happy in this and the other dimension, of course. She feels like that. So she was very uncomfortable at that house. So it all worked out the way it was supposed to. Okay, QAnon is the latest anonymous group that's leaking info. They like to mess with people, treat it like a game, tend to help the white hats, and look like it looks like Trump uses the info. Well, of course he uses the info, because that's what he does. He's our guy. He's our guy. Okay, it seems like Jonathan said something else up here. Oh no, Stephanie said something. Have I gone over ley lines? What about ley lines? What should I go over about ley lines? Gonna have to narrow that one down a bit for me, honey, because that's a big subject. Well, ley lines are kind of the part that think ley lines are really kind of the part of the grid that people have figured out in the physical on pretty much the top layer of the planet Earth. That's about all they've figured out for an infinite number of energetic grid and lines, and actually they're waves that are all connected. Well, they could be worse. They couldn't figure out. They could have figured out none of them. So that's something. You should think positive. So yeah, they put way too much emphasis on the ley lines though, because they're not just there; they're everywhere. But hey, we'll start with where we're starting from with those guys. So the Bermuda Triangle. All right, the Bermuda Triangle. Well, the Bermuda Triangle, like everything, has a whole lot of different possibilities. Just like you can choose you can choose to stay on the planet Earth and go up to 5D, or you can choose the Rapture and Armageddon or aliens blowing up the planet. You can choose which version that you want to choose. Well, the Bermuda Triangle, and that's not the only one. I think there's several more like areas on the planet have been put there kind of as a part of the game for a very, very, very long time. And depending upon what the society's belief system was for those areas, then it would do different things. Like some societies believed it was a gateway to other universes. So of course, when they went into it, they went to other universes. Some people believed that it was like whirlpoolish and it would just pull you to the bottom of the ocean and kill you. So the people that believed that, that's what happened to them. There are some people that believed that it was a gateway to other parts of this planet, and so the ship would go from there here, and then it would show up on another side of the planet in another sea or another ocean. So it depends upon what you believe when you go into it. There's many people that nothing happens. If you don't believe anything that's going to happen, well, guess what? You're creator God, you win. And nothing whatsoever will happen at all. Is there a specific energetic way that is built? Those areas are built? Absolutely. Absolutely. And they are like really big vortex like things ish. And it depends upon which timeline you're looking at. The vortex can go multiverse and multi-dimension, because there are people that believe that it transfers you to a different dimension. There were people, I don't know if they still are alive, but there were people that believed that it sucked you to like a hell like existence. And so they went there. Um, so it depends upon where they believe that they're going as to how big that vortex of energy is. But yeah, you can go right through it and it affects you not at all if you don't believe in it, or it can whisk you away to all kinds of weird places. Depends upon what you believe. And if you go into them, it just kind of gives you a jump start. So let's say if you came to the planet and you wanted to experience dying at sea, well, then you would accidentally sail into one of those areas and then immediately go, oh my God, I'm in one of these areas. I'm going to be sucked to the bottom of the sea and die. And bammo, plamo, you were. So back in the days when it took more energy and longer time to create something, it was kind of a shortcut to get something done. So if you were an entity and you wanted to come to this planet and experience traveling across the universe, but the only thing that was available was like getting on the planet and being in this civilization that believed that if you went through this part, if you went through the Bermuda Triangle at the wrong time of year, whatever, without the certain sacrifices, then you'd be sucked over out into the stars. That way you could do that and you could go fly through the stars before they did spaceships. So before there were spaceships invented here, you could still come and experience, like, I don't know, the year 1200 and experience all that, but still experience space travel. So it was a way of changing up and um, complicating the game. One of the many things that are part of the game that make it complicated. Yeah, that's good. Gateway to Venus, Jonathan. Perfect. All of the pyramids are gateways if you believe that they're gateways. They also can be a lot of other things. There's a lot of stories about all of the pyramids. All of the pyramids that are all over the place, and they're all over the place by a whole lot of people under a lot of different circumstances. So it's like, how were the pyramids created? Well, what do you believe? They were created by slaves? Then that's the pyramid that you're at. Are you there because you believe that the stones were asked to create those pyramids? That's the pyramid that you're at. There's infinite possibilities, and there's a lot of them on how the pyramids were built and why the pyramids were built. So whatever you believe that they were used for, whether it was a, a tomb to a stargate or anything else, you can not only can you use them for that, but you can create your own. You can go use them for whatever you want. Pyramids are massive ways of creating vortexes, whether it's a little tiny pyramid or a great big giant one, it doesn't matter. Pyramids are really good for that. TPs are the next best thing, but pyramids are awesome. At least up until the mid 2/3 of the way up through 4D, then they become less effective. But up until that point, pyramids are really helpful, especially the more you believe in them. Oh, they found a giant shark tooth in the ocean. They assumed it was a fossil, but they found out it isn't. Okay, so how big is the giant shark's tooth? By giant, what do you mean? That's all relative. So talk to me. Talk to me. Talk to me. How big is giant? Miss Stephanie girl. Can't wait to hear this. Don't you love it that humans think that they know what's going on out there? And then they go, well, of course. A shark only gets this big. Megalodon tooth, like bigger than your head? Holy moly. That's awesome. And they found out it was an active, lost, real live shark. They did the testing. That is really, really cool. Now, people freak out about the 20-foot ones or the 30-foot ones. What would they do if that one came out? Oh my goodness. That's scary. I don't know. I think they'd be fun to go. I think they'd be fun to go play with. You go talk to them. Talk to a shark and go ride them. A shark that big would be absolutely hilarious, I think. Really funny to freak people out with. Like giant snakes. Like, I don't know. How big of snakes do they know about that are here, Stephanie, compared to what is really here? Well, people freak out from snakes. Maybe we shouldn't bring up snakes. Exactly. Sharks are good at cleaning up anything and everything. Kind of like, oh, as big as Nessie? The sharks are as big as Nessie? Holy moly, that is a big shark. Of course, there's a whole bunch of big things like that in the ocean that people don't know about. Oh, there's Michelle. She speaks up when we bring up an animal. Yes, sharks are very talkative. They're not at all what people say they are. That they're like dead eyes. I don't understand how they can see dead eyes. I've never understood that. But yeah, they're very talkative. Very chatty, I'd say. Chatty is a good word more than even talkative. I think they're just chatty. Funny. Funny. How is the talking going on in the oceans, Michelle? The whales, the dolphins. I know there are a bunch of them back. I think the mermaids are all back now. In limited areas, the mermaids are back. And I think the sirens, if the sirens aren't here already, Stephanie, are they here? Because I think the sirens are back in places as well that could be seen by the higher humans in a better mood, I should say. But I think they're all back too. Giant sloths. What did he say? Oh, the giant sloths in South America are back. How big is a giant sloth? I cannot vibrationally go scan for that. I don't have enough. It's not in my language yet. Yeah, they're here. The sirens are here. Is that what you're saying, that they're here? The sirens are here. I thought I could tell that they were here. I was pretty sure. Not very many of them, but they're here. And what are those people, those water people that aren't, they're not mermaids and they're not sirens, like a big bear. Ooh, awesome. Has anybody taken pictures of the giant sloths? And there's another kind of water people that were actually here all along that people have seen glimpses of, but they're not mermaids. They're something else. I don't know if they've even got a name, but they lasted longer than the mermaids. The mermaids and merman. It was like the next up level or closer to human level than mermaids. I don't know what they're called. Maybe I've never known what they were called. So the sirens are here. The locals have seen the giant sloths, but regular civilized mankind, of course, have not. So of course they don't believe it yet because they have to have actual physical proof because they're scientific. That's how it's done. All right, what else? Michelle. Selkie, what's a selkie? Selkies are back. What's a selkie? Coast of Hive to Israel in 2009. Government offered $1 million reward for proof. Yeah, I'll bet they did offer $1 million reward for proof, and I'll bet you that's why it went running away. They went to find the shots and found nothing. There's a Pegasus in the sky now. Which color? What color is the Pegasus? Or is it changing? Oh, Selkies turned in. Oh, is that the? Do they look like people and then turn into seals? Did Selkies turn from people into seals? White silver, yeah. One of my favorite Pegasus is the white silver one. Although Michelle, that opalescent one, that white opalescent one that was there the other day at the river, God, that was a pretty Pegasus. Very full of light. It was much more bright, like illuminated than most Pegasus I see. It was a pretty Pegasus. Beautiful thing. Yeah, completely human. Okay, I think that's the group. I didn't know about Selkies, but I knew there was a group that they look like regular humans, and went into the water, but they didn't look like mermaids in the water. So, have those guys been around pretty much the whole time? Are there like villages in remote places that are Selkies? Well, you said they're back, so they must have left eventually, because I can really don't. I see they really stayed around a long time. But they were very remote into themselves. They didn't mix with other humans. They were very much to themselves. Cool race, though. I like those people. I like Selkies, but I didn't know what they were. Yeah, it's very distinct Pegasus. That one is. Oh well, that's cool. All right, oh, so they changed their vibration. So the Selkies changed their vibration, like the dolphins and the whales when the humans got to be too annoying. It was probably relatively recent then, because I know the whales and the dolphins, theirs has been relatively recent. I mean, comparatively speaking, compared to the whole other time. Hey, Stephanie, have you seen any new magical creatures lately that are back in that humans can see? Yep. Okay. Okay, that makes sense because I'm seeing the Selkies are there pretty much the whole time. So if they're changing vibration, then I see them there, whether they're whichever vibration they're at. So that explains that. Also explains why you said they're back. So I would say they're not probably back as much as humans have raised to meet them. Would say that's probably we've gone up to them rather they've come back to us. But yeah, that's just that's semantics. Oh, really? Lots of spider beans? That is stupendous. I can't wait. That's a big thing, really, Michelle, because I've been waiting for somebody to tell me that the insectoid magical beans were back because they really left quite early because, people ostracized reptilians and the insects pretty early. They were afraid of spiders way long time ago, so they left quite early. So I was waiting, very excited to get some reports of the insectoid beans coming back. You guys need to tell people about the insectoid beans because they, as far as I know, I don't know of any stories or anything left that's anywhere even refers to them, let alone accurately. So you and Stephanie need to tell people about these guys because there's so many of them and they're so cool. And somebody let me to know when the reptilians are back too, because right now reptilians equals bad guys. And of course, that's not true. There's lots and lots, the majority of the reptilians are not bad guys at all. It's just that the group that came here and helped the planet get down to 3D are kind of what's considered bad guys. But the ones that are in the higher in 5D are not bad guys at all. Nothing is bad in 5D. Oh, I'll bet you do. Yeah, the spider creatures. I'll bet that is just seriously fun to weave in 5D with the spider beans. Do you guys, Stephanie, does anybody know names for these guys? Because I don't know of any stories or anything that have called them anything. So we may just have to draw pictures and start naming them things to let people not be afraid when they show up. Because there's some pretty between the reptilian beings and which is one of the reptilian beings, by the way, is a dragon, guys. For some reason, dragons survive probably because they're so awesome, but they are reptilian. Well, there's some of them reptilian, some of them are bird-like, but they are good portion of them are reptilian. So keep that in mind when you're judging the new reptilian beings coming back into play. But the insects, I don't know of any reference at all to a good or bad magical creature that's insectoid. So, oh, good. Oh, yay, the answer back. How about the grasshoppers? Are the grasshoppers here? I just want to know, are the grasshoppers here? Nagas are seeable for high range humans. Okay, Nagas are seeable. Okay, we got that. Gargoyles are seeable. The gargoyles, we can see the gargoyles. Oh, okay, that is awesome. That is awesome. There's a being I call Godzilla. Lets me lay on its right foot. Oh, that is so cool. Yes, today on grasshoppers. Score. That's a big one for me personally. Mainly because I really, really, really like grasshoppers and ants. I think it was from the story from childhood, but I like both sides. You hang with the Yeah, Michelle has a gargoyle in on her back porch. Stays there most of the time. It's flying around and it stays there most of the time. It's a very wise gargoyle. Like calms the energies down around her place if they get. It kind of like is the monitor of the party at Michelle's house. Because if Michelle's party gets too big and wild, it kind of slows it down a little bit. Because sometimes Michelle's back porch area, her little world, can get kind of hectic, and the gargoyle kind of smooths it out a little bit and takes it down a notch until she ramps it back up again. Because Michelle likes to invite friends over, a lot of friends over, don't you, Michelle? You like your friends. Okay, Stephanie, what's new hanging out at our forest? Anything new? Gary the Gargoyle. Michelle's gargoyle is called Gary the Gargoyle. That's great. That's a very good name for the gargoyle, Gary the Gargoyle. I think you told me that before. Maybe you didn't, or maybe it was telepathically. I don't remember. But yeah, he was very formidable when I was there. As a matter of fact, he kind of scared me. He startled me because he was so he had so much energy and he was so stoic. that I thought it was a statue. I thought it was a big statue, and I couldn't remember you ever talking about it. And then he blinked, and it startled me. That was really, really early when I first went outside with you, Michelle. I don't even know if we talked about that. I think we did. The tree people are seeable. Yeah, I believe that. The tree people should be seeable. It's about time. I think people have been seeing those for a while. They just convince themselves that they're not seeing people, that they're just shadows. But they're getting really distinct to me too. I don't see how they could be misinterpreted for shadows at this point because they're moving a lot more and they're moving outside the shadows a lot more, and they definitely very, very much look humanoid. So yeah, I'm not surprised about the tree people. But the tree people are just kind of watchers anyway. It might be interesting for the humans to see, and they're not scary at all. So maybe that's a good thing for humans to start seeing are the tree people. And the tree people just kind of look like shadows along the branches, and they'll like lounge along the branches of trees. Does he? The gargoyle rides in the truck with you. That is so funny. Oh, we didn't talk about it? Yeah. Yeah, I'm getting confused now. I guess it doesn't matter with you because over time, I don't know what we talked about with it in with human voice or when we were together or when we're together like all the time together. So I think we'll just drop the whole thing. We just know shit about each other now. Oh, that is awesome. So Jonathan has been witnessing kind behavior in birds in Washington, D.C., which is awesome. Feeding one another and even walking up to oh, that is phenomenal. Very unafraid of bigger animals, and that's the way it's done, and that's how fear disappears in 5D is all of these animals that you think should be afraid of each other or eating each other will stop doing that. And they'll start playing together and hanging out together instead of chasing and eating and hurting each other. And hopefully the humans that we're around will stop hurting each other because all of us will be in a higher vibration. We'll leave the humans behind that are hurting each other. We'll leave them to play their own games. And we'll go to happy fun times. Our big party. Remember, Michelle? We're gonna have a big party. And Jonathan, yep, pigeons and those little birds that just pop up when you're outside. Don't know what they're called. Okay, guys, what's he talking about? Does anybody know what the birds are that just pop up when you're outside? If we all cannot figure it out, you can show me the pop up birds. I think we should call them the pop up birds until we know something different because I kind of like pop up birds. So it'd be a new kind of bird. It's called the pop up bird. The Washington, D.C. pop up bird. Exactly. A nonstop 80s concert on steroids. That's what it'll be. A little finch. Well, finches do pop up. Never thought of them as being pop up birds. I'm going to keep pop up birds until I can see them because I like I like the pop up bird thing. Finch. Oh, okay, it's a finch. They're little pop up birds. Well, they are little birds and they do pop around. But Stephanie had when she was like, how old are you, Stephanie? Like kindergarten or something? You were little. First grade, kindergarten? Kindergarten. And she had these, we created this giant aviary because she was into birds and she had all these birds and we put them in there and we used um, fishing line across this window and created this area inside this big, uh, what are those things called? Those windows that are in the dining area that go out and out. And we closed it in and put fishing line there and then we put all the birds loose in there, including her finches. And she had a whole bunch of finches. And those little finches would dive bomb in between those fishing line and they'd get through. And she would be home. I'd be at work and Curtis and her'd come home from school. I'd get home at 5 or 6 and they'd be home from school at 3:30. So, but she was home a couple hours And I'd come home and she'd be sitting in the middle of the living room. She looked like something out of, Walt Disney's Cinderella because she'd have a finch on her head and a finch on her finger and birds flying around her head. And I mean, I've never seen finches tamed in my life. And here she has these finches all over the place on her shoulders, and they're flying and landing and flying and landing. And I'd open the door and they'd all fly away, and we'd have to go catch them and put them back in the aviary until she came home from school the next day and I wasn't there to disrupt them. Then they'd all come out and we'd do it all over again. Oh, I love armadillos too. Let's give birthday to identical. I did not know that, but I did not know that about armadillos. There are armadillo creatures though. Armadillo-like creatures. Did not know. I do know they down the rivers, or they float down the rivers upside down, I think. Real Sleeping Beauty. She was. Only she was awake. But she did match Sleeping Beauty because she was actually more, yeah, no, she was a pretty much Sleeping Beauty because Sleeping Beauty was always calling all the animals to her. All right, guys, time's up. I got to go. Got another job to do. This has been fun. Michelle, Jonathan, Stephanie, love you guys bunches. And I will talk to y'all later, okay? Bye now. Say goodbye to each other. I'll let it run. Da da. This for you to say goodbye. Da 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 da. Stephanie, say goodbye. Okay. Bye, guys.